What's going on, guys, and welcome to another Doctor Who review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Ninth Doctor Christopher Ecclestone story, The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances. Yes, it is another two-parter, and the second two-parter of Series 1 and of all time in New Who, and this is widely regarded as the best story in Series 1, and yeah, I've always kind of thought that same way as well. I mean, there's quite a few very good episodes in Series 1, but this one usually does sit at the top of my list. We'll see if that's the case once we finish Series 1 this time around, but I'd say, spoilers, I'd say yeah, it probably is. It is a very, very good story, of course. First story written by Stephen Moffat, who would later become the showrunner in Series 5 with Matt Smith, all the way through the end of Capaldi's run in Series 10. So, yeah, a big story, introduces new characters like Captain Jack, and yeah, lots of cool stuff to go through. But anyway, let's start off with the cast. Christopher Ecclestone as the Ninth Doctor. He is amazing in this story. He is so good. After, Father's Day last time that he wasn't, I mean, he was good in it, but he wasn't in it a whole lot. This episode, he's in it a lot, and well, it's two episodes, it's a two-parter, this story, should I say. He's in it a lot, and he is really, really good in this one. I enjoy the Doctor so much. The sad stuff, the funny stuff, I love, where he's at the table with what's her name, Nancy, and all the other orphan kids, and he takes two pieces of chicken and that whole thing. That's really funny, and yeah, just a lot of really good stuff from Christopher Eccleston in this story. The serious stuff as well. The go to your room bit is funny. Yeah, just plenty of good stuff from him. Billie Piper as Rose Tyler. Yep, she is good here as well. She has I wouldn't say she has the most to do, to be honest. I mean, the first part of the story, she's with Jack, so we get introduced to Jack with Rose, not with the Doctor. So that's kind of her big part for the first, really for The Empty Child, the first part. After that, once, her and Jack meet back up with the Doctor again, off the top of my head, I'm not really thinking that she did a whole lot. She introduces Jack, and that's about it. Once they're all together, Rose doesn't have a whole lot to do in this story, I'm going to be honest. But yeah, Billie Piper does a good enough job with what she does. And of course, we've got to talk about John Barrowman as Captain Jack Harkness, or just Jack Harkness, as he's not actually credited as Captain Jack Harkness here on Wikipedia. But yeah, as Captain Jack, we're just calling him Captain Jack. He is amazing. I know there's the controversial stuff of John Barrowman at the moment, and I mean it was a few years ago now that was all going on, but I think it is still somewhat there in people's minds. It is what it is. It's bad what happened and everything, but I'm just looking at him as an actor, the same I did with like Noel Clarke, and yeah, John Barrowman is great. Captain Jack is one of my favourite characters in Doctor Who of all time. I love Captain Jack so much. He's so quirky. He's so good in this story. The chemistry he has with Billie Piper and with Christopher Eccleston is really, really good. And yeah, just love him as a character. All right, so let's get on to some points about this story. Starting off with the introduction to Captain Jack. Don't really need to go more into that. We just talked about it. The Doctor has chased a vessel that's crashed to Earth. So yeah, the episode starts with the Doctor and Rose in the TARDIS chasing down something through the time vortex, and then it turns out this thing has landed in what ends up being London, and in World War II, I think it's World War... No, is it World War II or is it World War One? I think it's World War II. Correct me if I'm wrong there. Actually, I might even be able to just see on this Wikipedia article right here. It is not, yeah, 1941. So that's World War II, London Blitz. So yeah, they find this, they follow this down to Earth, and that is what the whole story is about. Just trying to find this vessel that they were chasing through the time vortex. The child can control phones and other electronics. So yeah, the first thing we see with the child, well, with electronics anyway, is the Doctor's TARDIS phone rings, which is, I mean, he says it's not supposed to happen. It's not a real phone. I'm guessing later on it does become a real phone, because in the 11th, one or two of the 11th Doctor stories, the TARDIS phone rings. But at this point, he's like, it's not a real phone. How is it ringing? It turns out it's this child can do stuff with technology. I'm not 100% sure if that's actually explained as to why the child can control electronics and stuff like that. It might be explained, I'm not 100% sure, but from what I remember, it isn't really. But that is something it can do. The TARDIS phone rings. It rings a phone in the house as well, where the Doctor and all the Nancy and all the orphan children are. It plays, I think. It does a lot of stuff throughout the whole story. I'm not going to go over it all, but although I don't know why exactly it does that, maybe it explains it. I can't remember. I did like it as a concept. Jack's ship has nanogenes that repair/heal. So of course the nanogenes become a big part in the end of this story with what's going on here, or together with the empty child and everything. But it starts off with, Jack has got these things in his ship. Rose, when she's hanging from that rope, which is a great scene, with the Union Jack on her chest, she's like, oh, I couldn't have worn a different shirt. Probably the worst shirt to wear in this instance. When you've got German bombers bombing London, you've got a big Union Jack on your chest. And yeah, she gets some rope burn from holding onto the rope, and then when she gets in Jack's ship, the nanogenes heal her hand. And at the time, it's just like, oh, this is a cool thing, cool thing of Jack's ship. But obviously later on, it turns out that those nanogenes, that's what was in that vessel. That is what has caused this whole thing. So I think that's a nice little foreshadowing thing there, and is very interesting. Everyone who had been in contact with the first victim turns into a gas mask zombie. So yeah, we kind of call them gas mask zombies, don't we? I mean, we don't really know what else to call them. I don't like using the word zombie, but it kind of is what they are. They are basically zombies in a way. And yeah, just literally anybody that was in contact with the first, what we end up figuring out is the first child that got infected with this, they are also infected, and they slowly turn into the gas mask zombies. So, I mean, Professor Constantine's transformation is really quite grim and very scary, especially I think if you were like a 6 or 7-year-old watching that when it came out, like I was. Pretty terrifying, coming out of his mouth and the whole thing going and stitching onto his face. Terrifying stuff, but really, really cool. All right, we move on to the Dr. Dances now with the "Go to your room" line, which is funny. I mean, it's a funny little, because obviously the cliffhanger to The Empty Child is all the gas mask zombies from the hospital coming and swarming the Doctor, Rose, and Jack. And the Dr. Dances starts with the Doctor going, "Go to your room," and shouting at them to go to your room, listen to what I'm saying. And they all just slowly walk off, and he's like, I love how he's like, oh, I'm really glad that word. Those would have been terrible last words. Hilarious. Love it. Amazing. How it works, the whole "go to your room" thing, is a bit off, but I can, it's a bit random. Like, okay, sure, I guess that works. Why they don't all go to the actual room of the child? All the hospital people kind of just go to their bed, not to the room. So do they associate that with their room? That doesn't really make sense. But to be honest, I don't really care. It works, and it's a hilarious moment. The child going to his room, and then the tape ending. So yeah, the child, the actual initial child, actually goes to its room in the hospital. And that is a great realization moment of, the doctors, you can hear that they're listening to this tape of the child talking with Dr. Constantine earlier on. So they're listening to this tape, and eventually the tape, you can hear it starts spooling and finishing. As tapes finish, they just kind of make like a staticky noise. So you hear that for a little while, but then you can still hear the child talking, and eventually the Doctor's like, I sent the child to its room. The tape stopped 30 seconds ago. We can still hear it. I sent it to its room. This is its room. And they turn around, the child's there. Amazing. Just the writing, the tension, it's so good. The typewriter scene is great, but it does come straight after the very similar tape scene. So that tape scene I was talking about, I loved the tape scene. That tape scene is one of the best scenes in Doctor Who. I love it. The acting from Christopher Ecclestone and everything, brilliant. Only a couple of minutes after that, literally the next scene, I think we go and have a look back at Nancy and all those children with her, and one of them's typing on a typewriter, a letter to his mum or something, but then he stops typing and is listening to Nancy and the others, but then you can still hear the typewriter going, and then it literally has the same moment where Nancy's like, he stopped typing 30 seconds ago, so who's typing? And it's another one of these moments, it's like, oh, really cool moment, but then it's like, actually, that we literally just had that like 2 minutes ago. So although it's a really cool scene, the tension isn't there because we literally just saw the same scene 2 minutes ago. The Chula ambulance was full of nanogenes and think they're helping by turning everyone into gas mask zombies. So the whole thing is that the ship landed, it crashed. The first body, I guess, it found was this child who was blown up by a bomb with a gas mask on. It went, oh, I'm going to heal this person. But because the child had a gas mask on, it just assumed that this is the first human it's come into contact with. This is what the nanogenes think humans are. They think humans have these gas masks, have this scar on their hand. They have all these traits. So it's like, right, I've fixed this human. This is now what a human should be. So I'm now going to go around and fix all the other humans to make it the same, to make them the same as this child. So it's actually not even I love it, actually. It's actually not a villain in the end. It is literally just a technology of sorts, I guess, in the nanogenes, just not really understanding what a human is. And yeah, it's a really interesting concept for an enemy, because it's not an enemy, it's just a misunderstood thing, which I love. Nancy is Jamie's mum. So obviously I've seen this episode many times, 6 or 7 times probably, maybe even more than that. Probably going closer to 10, to be honest. It's a great story for me. Just in general, the Russell T Davies era I've seen plenty of times. So obviously I knew the whole thing of Nancy is Jamie's mum, Jamie being that first child that got infected, well, that died, and the whole thing with the empty child. So I obviously saw that coming, and watching this, knowing it was coming, personally, I did feel like, I mean, maybe it'd be different if I hadn't seen it so many times. I didn't know, but I feel like it is quite obvious, going through the episodes, that she is his mum. I think the main part comes in The Empty Child when Dr. Constantine says that Nancy knows more than she's saying, because she says that he is her brother, but it turns out to be her son. And yeah, although I really do like it as a thing, I don't really understand why she's lying about it being a son. I mean, she's still saying, oh, it's someone in my family, so why can't you just, I mean, I know it's a terrible thing to go through, but how does that help you? Saying, oh, it's my brother, not my son. How does that help? I don't really know. Maybe it's just a grief thing, and I don't know. I'm just stupid, but I don't know. That didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. And yeah, I do feel like even a new viewer, if they were twigged on enough and they were really watching and listening, they would figure out earlier on that she is the mother. The nanogenes recognized the same DNA and reverted Jamie and everyone else back to normal. So the end of this is amazing. The whole everybody lives thing from the Doctor, one of the iconic scenes of his era. Such a great scene. Nobody dies in this story. Nobody at all dies. There's some episodes of Doctor Who where it's like, everything's reverted back to normal and nothing actually happened, when I'm like, oh, this is crap. But in this case, no, all this still happened, but these people have been fixed again, because of course, it's revealed that that Nancy is Jamie's mum, and then they hug each other, and the nanogenes are now doing this thing of, oh, we see the same DNA here, and they figure it out, they work it out, and work out that, we've messed up here, this is what a human should be, and it, fixes everyone again. And I love that as an ending in this story. I just think it really works. So, The Empty Child and the Doctor dances. I mean, it's pretty obvious what rating I'm going to give this one, isn't it? It's a 10 out of 10. It is a brilliant story. I have seen more, I wouldn't even say flaws, but more slight negatives. But they're not even negatives. I've seen more things doing an analytical review of this time, watching it, more analytically. Mainly, Nancy being Jamie's mum, I personally just think it's a bit obvious, but in saying that, yeah, I've seen it so many times, so of course I would think that. And there were just a couple of other things that I was a bit not as sure on, but they're very nitpicky, and they do not make me want to give this anything less than a 10. So yeah, it's a very easy 10 out of 10 for me for this one. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.